What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner Live. I believe we're deep in the teens now. This is Ginger Runner Live episode number 18, which is crazy. I can't believe that we've had this many episodes so far. Today, I'm really excited. Not only am I coming to you from a different location, I am sitting on a couch in Vancouver, British Columbia. That's right, I've traveled north. I'm coming to you from, is it the Great White North? I don't even know. My fiance Kim, Mile Longlegs, is in the background. She'll be cooking dinner. She'll be jumping in at random points. She won't be able to hear anything we're talking about, but she'll be able to jump in and talk to you guys. And today I have a very special guest. This guy is awesome. I met him in person recently, but have been a fan of his for a long time, and just the nicest dude, an incredible ultramarathon runner, a coach as well. Today we're going to be talking a lot about Western States 100. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Yassine Diboun. What's up, buddy?
Hey, my friend, how are you? Thanks for pronouncing my name perfectly as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. I'm always afraid. Is it Diboun? Diboun? Everyone says Diboun. I want to make sure that I get it right and they're getting it right. So welcome to another episode of Ginger Runner Live, everybody. Let's get this show started right with the opening title credits. Ginger Runner Live. Let's do this. Ginger Runner. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. So for those of you who are regulars to Ginger Runner Live, you know how this process goes. We get a wonderful guest, and today we have just probably one of my favorite people who I've ever met in the running community, and we have had such a brief interaction in person. So that's saying a lot about the character of this guy. Just an extremely positive, really outgoing, like a really nice dude, and even when he's deep in the suck, like out there, I remember from the Gorge 100K, which is actually when I first met him in person, I was following him during the actual race, never once didn't have a smile on his face, even though he was suffering. So we'll talk a little bit about that today, but we're going to talk about Western States 100 as well as some of his other amazing races and what else he has going on. It is Yassine Diboun. Here he is once again. Look at that beautiful face.
Yes.
Beautiful face.
Oh, thanks
so
for
excited,
having
man.
me on the show. Yeah, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, since I first met you, I was like, I got to get Yassine on the show because when you meet somebody, especially in the ultra community, you usually become pretty good friends with them really quickly. If you're running with them for hours on end, you tend to find out pretty much everything about a person pretty quickly. But in your case, I've only been following you online and have heard rumors like Yassine, the nicest dude, incredible runner, just an all-around fantastic dude. But when I actually met you for the first time, I think it was while I was running the 50K, you were out there supporting all the 50K runners. And as I ran by, it's actually in my 50K race video. You shout out, you're like, yeah, Ginger Runner, yeah, go buddy, go. Oh my God, Yassine knows who I am. What? I was freaking out, man. I freaked out for
Well,
months.
exactly. I mean, likewise, I've been following you for a while too before we actually met in person, and you all obviously also kind of emit that positive energy, and so I didn't know you in person, but I felt like I kind of knew you beforehand from all your awesome videos and your presence online and whatnot.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool kind of how this community works in that sense where we're all really following each other, whether it's online or whether it's through race reports or that kind of thing. So it was good to actually officially meet you at the Gorge race. And I knew then, I was like, I got to bring him on the show at some point. And I felt like what better way to bring him on and actually talk to him than to talk about Western States, especially since it's coming up in, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that. It's incredibly close. You are running the race for the third time. Tell us a bit about your first two experiences. I've read both race reports. They're incredible. Let us know. I don't want to spoil anything. Can you tell our live viewers how you placed in both of those races and a little bit about those experiences? Let's start with 2012.
Yeah. Okay. My first Western States was, obviously I was very nervous going in. I didn't know what to expect. I had tried to get in for many years. I remember before the race, it was the day before the race actually, I was in the co-op in Truckee, California, and I got so nervous and anxious that I couldn't even function. My daughter was running around the store, like ripping stuff off the shelves, and
man.
and I basically just kind of froze. I couldn't believe I was about ready to run 100 miles through the mountains, and it was one of those things where I couldn't take a deep breath. And my mother pulled me aside, and she's like, look, you need to get your shit together, man. You're a a top level athlete. You need to get a hold of yourself and visualize yourself doing this. And from that point on, I really started to get comfortable. I showed up to the line. What I wasn't expecting for that first year was for it to be the second coldest year in 39 years.
That's right.
So we started off with very high winds and cold temperatures, and going through the high country, my hands were frozen. I had taken a bad fall, and I actually found myself in the top 10 by 30 miles, and I was able to hold on pretty well throughout the majority of the race. I showed up. I fell back quite a bit, so I was in 11th place at coming into the finish, and that's kind of the first loser, so to speak, as far as the top 10 goes. And I was quite a
top
ways
11
back
isn't bad, Yassine. Let's be honest. Top 11 at Western, that's not that bad.
Well, about mile 99, I saw some headlamps behind me, and I didn't realize that somebody was that close to me. I put in a pretty good mile or two through the neighborhoods, and I looked back and I didn't see any headlamps. What I didn't realize was the person behind me had shut off their headlamps and was reeling me in through the dark.
Sneaky.
And so, so I saw my mom when I came into the track. I saw my wife and my daughter, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Hey, yeah, congrats!" And she looked at me and she goes, "Run, right now, run!" And I looked behind me, and there was David Riddle, who was sprinting at me, and I hear John Mettinger's voice on the loudspeaker, and he says, "It looks like we've got a race on the track.
No.
Former Division I mile runner David Riddle and Yassine Diboun," and I'm just like, "Oh, wonderful." So I got past with about 50 meters to go, and I finished in 12th place. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But hey, it was my own fault. It's a race all the way to the end, and so it's a good example of not letting up until you actually cross that finish line.
Sure. Now, so was the 2012 race your first 100 at that point? It wasn't. Am I correct in saying that?
No, that was like my 6th or 7th 100 miler.
Okay.
It was my first Western States.
Mm-hmm.
So the following year, I showed up to the race, and in preparation for the the second hottest year, going from the second coldest year in 39 years. Last year was the second hottest year recorded in 40 years. So that was quite a different experience, and I felt like overall I ran more consistently and better, even though my time was exactly 2 hours slower.
I noticed that.
I was able to
looking at the splits. I mean, obviously weather played a factor there because
absolutely.
Yeah, 2 hours difference from year to year. It's all temperature at that point, I bet.
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, let me see something real quick here.
Nice close-up of the Animal Athletics logo.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's awesome.
Oh, here we go. We go. So look at this right here. So this is a picture that my daughter drew for me.
Love
On
it.
the other side is a bunch of numbers.
Uh-huh.
So the top one is my time for 2012, and I wrote down kind of the major aid stations and what times I came through there.
Gotcha.
And then on the bottom is the 2013 race, same aid stations and same times. And so I'm able to analyze where I lost the time from the 2012 race to the 2013 race. And so Duncan Canyon, mile 22 or so, I was 3 hours 38 minutes the first year. The second year, I was 3 hours 39 minutes, only 1 minute difference.
1 minute, okay, yeah.
1 minute difference. But then as you go on, you see as I dip down into the canyons, and it's way hotter, it's like, oh, there's a 40-minute difference right there. And then it just exponentially got more and more to the fact where it was, 107 degrees at mile 80. And I was just like, I don't even care about the top 10. I want to go do some different races anyway.
Yeah.
And then and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, you're in 10th place," and it's like, "Oh, well now I care," and and uh, and then I started kind of reeling in. I started running scared because I had that experience from David Riddle on the track, getting
Right.
knocked out of 11th place, and now I'm in 10th place. So I'm having flashbacks. I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm gonna get knocked out of 10th place, and this
Yeah,
is gonna be
yeah.
really embarrassing this time. Um, so I was running scared, but it was really interesting as the sun was going down, and my awesome pacer Brian Donnelly was pacing me. I was giving him instructions when I came through the aid stations to find out how far the runner behind me was.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's the next guy behind me? And with the technology we have today through ultralive.net, he was going to the aid station, and he found out at the last aid station that the next person was 10 minutes back.
Okay.
So I ended up running scared from whoever was behind me. I didn't know who it was, but I knew that there was somebody behind me, and if I would happen to falter, I was going to get passed again, and this time knocked out of the top 10. Then something happened that was really interesting, and what I love about ultras is, so many things can happen in these long races. I shifted. I went from being the hunted and running scared to being the hunter.
Yeah.
I started getting updates that when I was frantically running scared, I was actually reeling in Carl Meltzer.
Oh,
And so I
wow.
was going into each aid station, and they're like, dude, Carl's not far ahead of you, and he's not looking so good. You can catch him. And so it was like, he's 10 minutes ahead. He's 8 minutes ahead. He's 4 minutes ahead. I got into No Hands Bridge, which is only a few miles from the finish,
Yeah.
and they said, hey, Carl left here less than a minute ago.
Oh,
So
man.
I said to my pacer, I said, we got him. And in a few minutes, I saw his headlamp, and I just passed him, and I just kept the hammer down. This time I kept the hammer down all the way till I crossed that finish line.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, yeah. So I learned, and it was really good. It felt good to be hammering at the end of a race like that too. And like I said, it was 2 hours slower, but I almost was more pleased with how I ran that year as compared to the first year I ran Western States, because I closed hard.
Yeah, and so you ended up finishing ninth male, 10th overall. Incredible finish, the top 10. It's incredible. Do you think your strategy changed from year to year? I mean, you knew going into it was going to be hotter. So did you take the first 50 or even the first 20 or 30 slower? Was there a certain point when you knew that you were going to change your pace based off of the temperatures, or I mean, any of that kind of stuff? Any strategy going into it?
I definitely I definitely knew not to look at my splits from the previous year going into the race and try to
Yeah.
run those. I am very much a runner that runs on feel, and but I knew that I was losing time going through the canyons, because I knew the first year when I ran through the canyons, I ran with Zeke Tiernan and Neil
Yeah.
Gorman, both top 10 runners. And I just latched onto the back of those guys, and we helped each other out going through the canyons, and we were just like charging up the hills, power hiking and running, and it was like a cat and mouse game. When they would stop to hike, I would run, and when they would run, I would hike, and it was just this maintaining on the back of them the whole time. And looking at the splits, here that I have on my card, I can see like what a difference that was. When it was 100
Hmm.
degrees, I was definitely walking up the hills much slower. Um, I definitely got into some. I felt like I really handled the heat really well in 2013 race. I had some crazy like visualizations while I was going through the heat. My
Like
father's
hallucinations, or
well,
we've
borderline.
heard that in ultras, so. But you're talking about realizations, like.
I had some real visualizations that really helped me out. I was able to draw on my father's from North Africa, Morocco,
Mhm.
and my ancestry is of the Berber people of the mountains in North Africa, and I've been over there. I spent a couple summers there, and it gets very hot in the borderline of the Sahara Desert, and
Oh yeah.
I really had just some visualizations of my ancestors, like what do they look like, really like focusing on like what they looked like, what they did to just get water, what they did to survive. And I kept telling myself, I'm made for this shit. I am made for this shit. And over again, I just said, you know what, this is in my blood, you know. And that kept me going. My crew was awesome. My business partner and good friend Willie McBride who's another ginger.
Nice, love it.
We had an excellent cooling system, which I plan to use again this year, and it's just involves, you know, just misting me down with ice water when I come through, keeping the UV rays out, you know, just really staying hydrated and really cooling my core body temperature down at each aid station that they're at. So it's a crazy
awesome.
sport around here.
Yeah, for sure. And I've never been to Western. This is actually going to be my first time going to Western. I'm not running, but I am crewing Sally McCrae, who unfortunately couldn't be on the show tonight. But it's her first Western, and I'm super excited to be there and to experience such a big race. So definitely going to be paying attention to strategies and what happens in aid stations as runners come in and that kind of thing, because it's notoriously hot. Based off of what I've seen and heard. Did you go to the training run series the other weekend? I know that they had a training camp.
No, I never make it down for those. I usually help my friends up here in Oregon. They go beyond racing. They put on these races here in the Pacific Northwest, and I usually help out with those on Memorial Day. So. Oh,
awesome! So you're still getting in your mileage. You're still getting some good stuff up in there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes.
Basically, the word of mouth that I was hearing was that it wasn't as hot as people expected. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be that hot, or on race day. That means nothing, obviously, because there's so many weeks that separate them. But they were talking about how wonderful it is in all of the valleys and the canyons that there's usually running water, or if there's rivers that you can wade through or splash water on your face or on your neck, and using natural elements to cool yourself down throughout the race. When there's lots of races out there where you don't get that added benefit. Is there anything about the Western States, the course particularly, that draws you in? Is there anything that you're going into this 2014 race, any sort of strategy that maybe something you learned over the last two races that you're going in with this race, something a little bit different in your arsenal?
Well, given that I ran, the first year at the second coldest year in 39 years, and then last year was the second hottest year in 40 years, I feel pretty good about. I'm gonna run with this little card that I have that I showed you.
Okay, cool, perfect.
And I taped it up, and I'm just gonna have it in my back pocket, and I'm just gonna try to run somewhere in the middle between those. So I ran 16:43 for the first year and 18:44 for the second year. So I figure if I can stay within that, I've been working a lot more this year on the climbing. I've typically have been a really good downhill runner, and I think that's where I make up a lot of time, and that's why I've done well at Western States, is because there's so much downhill.
Yeah,
and I love
it's a net downhill course, right? By about 4,000 or 5,000 feet, I think.
Yeah, correct. I think about 3,000 or 4,000.
Okay.
So, I feel like I really, running here in the Pacific Northwest and the Columbia River Gorge, I'm really able to practice a lot of those quad thrashing downhills, and my body, for some reason, is able to handle that and without blown out quads, knock on wood. I found just through what other runners are doing so well, and guys like Timothy Olson and these guys that are at the top, they're really, really good climbers. And so I've been trying to focus a little bit more on getting a consistent climbing cadence down, whereas I've got really long legs, and so I've always focused on like a nice long power hike.
Yeah.
I've done well with that, and that's really good for some races as well, especially in the mountains. But for a race like Western States, there's only a few places that you really, really need to hike, power hike. So that's where I've worked on more of just like the climbing, running. And of course, I'll be power hiking as well. But if I can figure out, if I can figure out where I can run some sections more so, and I feel like my training, I've done that leading in this past spring. I've worked on that a lot more as well.
So would you say that you benefit more from the longer stride rather than a quick, short cadence? So, I mean, are you able to keep up with guys who might be running up because you are power hiking, but your stride is longer? I mean, is that actual strategy?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm able to keep up with guys relatively, like I did with Neil Gorman and Zeke Tiernan the first year. I was able to kind of hang on to the back of them while I was hiking, but I was also mixing in running because the weather was a little cooler.
Hmm.
So, I think if I were able to run more without hiking, it kind of depends on where you're at in the course too, because sometimes it's wise to actually throw in hiking and give some of the muscles a break.
Kim, are you doing okay? Kim's doing great. She's over there cooking up a dinner. Smells awesome here. Yeah, so
Nice.
Devil's Thumb, right? So Devil's Thumb is one of the steeper climbs, like going up to Devil's Thumb, kind of smack dab in the middle of the course, isn't it? Is that one of those climbs
Yeah.
that you're talking about, uh, possibly power hiking up, or is there maybe for
Yes.
first timers? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are watching that are first time Western States runners. Is there any advice that you would have for them around those types of climbs, or any experience that you've had in those?
Yeah, that's a good section to hike. I got Zeke caught up to me on that section, but he was running it. And I was
Oh,
amazed that he was running that. Um, it's usually midday, the hottest part of the day around Devil's Thumb. The
jeez,
the nice thing about this year is that the we're going to be crossing a stream just at the base of Devil's Thumb, so we're going to have the opportunity to fully submerge into cold water just before hiking up that. Whereas
that's great.
before we cross the bridge, even though some people went down to the stream anyway, uh, in the prior years, I think the bridge got ruined in a wildfire. So I think they're going to have us going through the water this year, which will be nice. So,
Be
but
nice.
I would still recommend power hiking. And I looked down when I was power hiking last year. I looked down to see Carl Meltzer reeling me in as he was hiking. I don't think I've ever seen anybody hike as fast as that man.
Yeah,
There, that there's
I've seen him hike before. I believe it was at North Face 50 this last year, I believe.
yeah,
The guy is incredible with his power hike.
seriously,
It doesn't even look like a power hike. It's just like a speed walk uphill. It's
right,
incredible. Um,
absolutely, yeah.
we
So,
actually have some questions in the chat room. This is from Kyle Mueller. Yassine, when did you start running? How long after you started running did you start running ultras?
it's funny. I was kind of a late bloomer into running. I started running when I was like 25, 35 now. Um, I actually started in triathlons, strangely enough,
Oh,
and
interesting.
I moved up pretty quickly. I moved up into marathoning, and then from marathons, I moved up to ultras, and I ran my first 50K. I ran a couple 50Ks, a couple 50 milers, and everybody's different. Some people will say, oh, don't, you got to do X, Y, Z before you do this, that, or the other. And, I
Yeah.
think everybody's different. So there's not one equation. You don't have to do a 50 miler. You don't have to do a 100K before you do a 100 miler. I jumped up relatively quickly. I only did half a dozen ultras before I did my first 100 miler.
Yeah,
I
we
did
had that
only
same.
two 50 milers. I only did two 50 milers before I did my first 100. So,
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we actually had that same question last week when someone really wanted to run a 50K, but they hadn't run. It was either they hadn't run a half marathon and a marathon, or just a marathon, and they were worried that they weren't doing it right. And the advice from the guests and myself was, you're doing it right if you like it. Like if you're enjoying your
exactly.
time running, and if you're going to run that distance and you really want to do it, then yeah, of course you don't have to run a marathon to run a 50K or run a 50 miler. It's whatever your body is capable of doing and the training that you put into it, for sure. Um, it's whatever you want to do. I mean, I can imagine someone could go from 0 to 100. It would hurt a lot because you wouldn't really know what to expect past those miles. But I imagine it's possible. Imagine someone out there is doing it. So,
Oh yeah.
what is your leading up to Western this year? Do you have any expectations? Do you have any goals, or is that kind of stuff private? Because I know there are some runners that are like, "Oh, my goal is this," but I never want to tell someone else. I don't want to put it out there. Do you have any expectations or goals this year?
My goal is to get in the Ginger Runner video. No, I'm just kidding. I have some personal goals in terms of, so much of it depends on the weather. It depends on, there's a slew of athletes showing up, and I don't want to shortchange myself. But I think the top 10 is going to be extremely difficult.
Okay.
But of course, I'm going to still go for that, and I'm going to go and run my heart out like I do normally, and I'm going to run smart and stay composed and be tactical. And the nice thing about running it twice the same course is you know the sections well, and so now it's like, I mean, I've passed through there a couple times, and I have the splits and things like that, and I can kind of gauge where I can push a little bit now that I've known. So I'm looking forward to running my race and improving on my time from last year, and seeing where that puts me.
Yeah, what's one of your favorite parts of Western States 100? Of all the hundreds that you've run, like what's one of your favorite parts about this particular race?
Just the high country is really beautiful up there. Just running along the ridge up high early in the race, and you see the sunrise come up over, and you think about the history of the race, and I think about all the people that went before me and Gordy, and how they told him that he was never going to be able to do this, and it's just amazing to have that energy. You're climbing up a ski resort, and you're at the very beginning of a 100-mile race, and just looking back and seeing all these people and all the fans out there that hike up there, and it almost kind of brings a tear to your eye, because you're just like, this is absolutely so inspiring. And you're running through like one of the most beautiful spots of the Sierra Nevadas in the country, and just being powered by your own 2 feet. It's coming in through the aid stations. Every section has this unique little qualities about it, where it's just amazing. I mean, it's kind of hard to put it into words, but
Sure.
Even just coming into the neighborhoods, I think at the end, I don't know if there's really a feeling that you get where you come out of the trail that you've been running all day, and you pop into a neighborhood, and then you see from a distance the stadium lights, and you're just like, holy shit, like, I'm here, I've done it, and I've got it, and at that point you can put it on cruise control because you're on the pavement. Just don't get passed by a sprinting runner who's reeling you in. And but it's quite an amazing feeling, to finish on that track, and I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to be doing my 3rd time. I mean, a lot of people try and never get in, or never make the cutoffs, or never never able to make it to the start line healthy. And so the fact that I'm showing up for my 3rd time feeling good, it's really quite a blessing.
Yeah, it's inspiring, and honestly, this is one of those bucket list races. It's been on my bucket list for a while, but it's also a 10-year plan, because you have to qualify, and once qualified, you're not guaranteed entry. Of course, you have to play with the lottery. So
Yeah.
for me, it's one of those. I'll do it. I'll enter that lottery every single year until until that name is drawn, and I can't wait. I mean, I'm just so excited to be there this year and actually see people cross that finish line, and see you cross that finish line, and support friends, and it's gonna be a blast. So I want to get into specifics, because this is one of those things, like, every podcast I listen to, who talk to people who race races like Western, they never get into the specifics. What shoes are you wearing? What shorts are you wearing? What fuel are you going to be using? Are there any secrets that you have on your body? Like, do you wrap a certain gel around your wrist, or do you hide something on your body that you're like, oh, this is my secret weapon. This is a little, 8 ounces of fuel that just boosts me with caffeine or something like that. I mean, is there anything like that? Like, let's start with shoes. What shoes are you rocking?
So that's a great question, because I'm actually taking a slightly different approach on the shoes this year. Innovate, who's my main sponsor, They have just come out with a shoe called the Race Ultra 290. And
Yeah.
this shoe was introduced to us at our Team Innovate retreat in Big Sur in February.
Those
And,
pictures are amazing from that retreat.
oh yeah, it was great. And to be honest, the Race Ultra shoe is a little bit more of a shoe that I'm used to wearing. It's kind of
Okay.
almost like it's almost kind of like Innovate's version of the Hoka, so to speak.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's a little bit bulkier than I would like. And in fact, I even I didn't sprain my ankle, but I kind of rolled my ankle over a couple times just because I wasn't used to having a little bit more cushioning like that.
Yeah.
But they kind of grew on me, and I've been wearing them, and I just got a fresh pair, and I actually just decided that I'm going to wear those for Western States for the reason of all the downhill pounding. Like what I've been
Good
doing in
call.
training is I've just been like pounding the shit out of the downhills, and to have a little bit more of a shoe to take the brunt of the downhill has been nice. It actually feels good for me to have that little bit of extra cushioning, and they're actually launching the shoe simultaneously, so they wanted to kind of like combine that with me at Western States wearing the Race Ultra 290 and the launch of their shoe. It's great timing. So, and that shoe breathes really well, even though it's a black shoe. I feel like it breathes well, and I haven't had any blistering problems in those. Last year I wore
That's
the
good. Hmm.
F-Lights 262s, and those are really comfortable too. Not as much cushioning, but still very comfortable. You don't need a whole lot of tread, like a lot of grip at the Western
It's pretty
States.
buffed out, right? It's pretty buffed out single track, not real technical.
Yeah. So yeah, that's as far as shoes, that's what I did. A little bit of a secret weapon, I guess you could say, that I had last year is I really tried to keep the UV rays out, and
Okay.
that's something I heard at the medical talk before the race. And so I don't know if you saw in the pictures or not. I had the white arm sleeves on, and what that did was these are some arm sleeves that I got at Waldo 100K up here in Oregon, and I don't know exactly the material, what it is, but you keep it wet, and it just keeps your arms cool, and it keeps the UV rays out. So
Wow.
I just had a white hat pulled down low. I had the white arm sleeves, and then I had a white bandana with ice around my neck, and the combination of that and just staying wet and staying cool with the help of my crew, it worked really well. And I'm probably just going to try to replicate that. I'm going to try to replicate that for this year as well.
That's really smart. Yeah, I remember seeing those sleeves. Actually, I see them a lot in triathlons. As soon as people come out of the swim into the transition into the bike, you see them pull up those white sleeves, and they're constantly pouring water on them. And I was really curious. It's like, why would you wear arm sleeves in extremely hot temperatures, especially
Right.
in an Ironman or anything like that? But people say that it keeps you cooler if you keep them wet because it almost acts as like a wet sweat as the wind and the stuff like that hits it. So
Yep.
nice secret weapon. What about fuel? What are you doing for fuel?
I really just tend to keep it pretty simple. I use, shot blocks, Carbo Pro, some bars, um, and just the last couple of years, it's funny. It's probably not the most nutritionally best thing for you, but the last 40 miles of the race, payday bars and Coke, man, that was working for
Oh,
me.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really working. It was like mini payday bars that were in a bowl, and I was just washing those down with Coca-Cola, and then complementing that with some watermelon and fruit, and that was working for me.
That's incredible. I never would think someone would just stick to candy bars and pop for the last 40 miles. But
I
if you
know.
think about it, I mean, if your body is just, I mean, it's at that point, it is just a fire furnace, just burning through calories. I mean, you really could do no wrong just putting sugar and some carbs in there. Why not? You know what? I'm just gonna adapt that strategy to my everyday life. I think Yassine just made it okay to eat candy bars and pop.
Well, that's the thing. I think because I don't eat that stuff on a regular basis, I think it just hits me
Oh,
even harder. But I also use trail butter, which you may have tried when you were down here in Portland. It's a good friend of mine
hmm,
has created this trail butter. It's a triple nut blend. It's got dried fruit, everything ground up in it, and you can squeeze the bottles. I'd get you one, but I think I ate it all, and I don't have any laying around. But
And
it's kind of like
just so you know, we're separated by a computer, so I couldn't even eat it if you.
I'll just put it up to your mouth right there. You can try it.
I apologize to the audience for that one.
That's been really good fuel, like really
Okay.
really healthy fats for me, and slow burning fuel. I do a lot of I do caffeine, that helps me as well. Somebody just asked me about caffeine.
Yeah, Guillaume, a good friend of mine, Guillaume, an incredible runner. He's been
Oh, I
running
know him. I know him well.
shit ton of miles. He will be at Western as well. I believe he's crewing Dom this year, and then he's running AC 100, and he's my pick. He's gonna be incredible. His
Oh,
question
yeah.
was for Yassine: does Yassine avoid caffeine during the first part of the race and uses it in a later stage of Western, or does he take caffeine from the start in the form of gels, perhaps?
That's a great question, and I've experimented with both ways, and I found that I like to start off not using caffeine as much,
Okay.
and again for the same reason that the candy bars hit me so hard, and the Coke hits me so hard, is that later in the race, you know, when I start adding caffeine, then I feel like it really hits me a lot more. So I would say, you know, I probably hit it probably around 50K. I started hitting caffeine. To answer your
That's,
question, Guillaume.
yeah, that's a great question because yeah, I'm trying to think of how my strategy has played out, and it's always been like I'll have like a power fuel or I'm sorry, pocket fuel, caffeine, the cold brew stuff like 20 minutes, 30 minutes before a race just to at least get my mind woken up, and then well into a race I realize that I haven't had caffeine until yeah, halfway or later into the race is when I actually start craving it almost, like when you start taking in Coke or you start taking in high concentrations of sugar and stuff like that. That's interesting that I've actually never thought that that's what I did, but it is what I do, and it's worked for me. So that's interesting. Jason Eads in the chat room says, payday bars and Coke for the last 40 miles at Western States. I'm writing that down. That is now officially strategy. I love it.
Well, Jason, I coach, so he has no excuse now. Because I suggested that for him. So now he's got an
You know what?
excuse, so he can use it.
Let's actually talk about that, Yassine. So you're wearing an animal. I'm wearing a Territory Run Company shirt. Thank you guys for
Yeah,
this.
man.
This is awesome. I love the shirt. You're wearing an Animal Athletics shirt. Tell us a little bit about Animal Athletics and how that got started. I know it's been around for a couple of years now, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, 2 years strong. We friend Willie McBride and I started this company based on just trying to help runners in the Northwest and all over the country. Actually, like Jason, who's over in Tennessee, but just really trying to support runners through coaching. We also do local classes here. We do kind of boot camp type classes, which is like functional training, more body weight exercises, focusing on like core
Cool.
strength, and we go into offices, which is kind of a cool aspect of our business because these people are not runners, they're not ultra runners by any means, but
Right.
we're open to helping all people more just so getting outside, getting active, getting the desk out of the body. And so we go into these places and go on people's lunch breaks and get them moving and get them outside. And we also do these fun like community adventures where we take people out into the mountains and have a fun, memorable experience. For instance, like circumnavigating Mount Hood here in Oregon or Mount St. Helens in Washington, and just living a high active lifestyle, and getting out and connecting with nature and freeing the animal within, as we say.
I love it. I think that's great, and I know that I've been following you for a while. And you have mentioned this in the past, and it's something that I think we talked very briefly on social media about. But adventures like circumnavigating Mount Rainier or doing Mount St. Helens or doing these longer excursions where it could be multi-day just adventures rather than racing and sanctioned races and stuff like that, doing those kind of things. Do those draw you in? We just had guests on Ginger Runner Live who, like Jason Schlarb
Oh yeah,
and Jeremy Wolf, we talked a lot about their trip to Patagonia, talked to the trip,
right.
trip to the Italian Dolomites. is that the kind of stuff that interests you? Are you still kind of in this racing mode where you want to go and I mean, I look through your race profile, dude, your race resume, and it's like every race you're top five. Everything you it's
Oh.
incredible. So does that draw you in, or are you still kind of trying to find that adventure too out there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I tend to split it up throughout the year, where I kind of race a little heavily, kind of the front half of the year, and then the last half of the year, kind of, well, the last few years, like doing Western States. After Western States, I focus more on like the more mellow adventure type runs where it's more casual, less, although, try throwing in a FKT attempt here and there, but for the most part, it's kind of casual with friends and multi-day. And I attempted to run the whole Oregon PCT last year,
Hmm.
and that didn't work out so well. But that was an adventure and a learning process. But yeah, I mean, more of the less of the sanctioned races and getting out there and just seeing these beautiful places. Like you said, the Pacific Northwest is just phenomenal place to explore. It's so expansive and beautiful, and I've been living here 5 years, and I've run thousands of miles out here, and just feel like I'm still scratching the surface.
Yeah. I mean, especially up there in Portland where you are, it's once you start exploring out into the gorge and just running the gorge race. I was talking to Kim about this
Yeah,
recently. You're really only touching
yeah,
30 miles of that trail because
yeah.
the 100K is the out and back. But those trails expand so much further out into the mountains to the summits and across the river and everything. There's
Right.
so much trail work out here in the Northwest, in Washington and Oregon. So you're in a wonderful playground to adventure. We have a question in the chat room from Gao Bao. It says, how would you guys recommend training up to run ultra marathons without having a particular race on the calendar? Running 70 plus miles per week doesn't seem too sustainable over long periods of time. Any advice on that case, Yassine?
How do you, I'm trying to
And
find
how
it
would
on
you
the,
recommend? It was the most recent comment. How would you guys recommend training up to run ultra marathons without having a particular race on the calendar? I think he was just talking about how would you consider training up your weekly mileage without necessarily training for, like, for example, if you have a race in 2 weeks, you know that you have to get
absolutely.
a certain
Well,
mileage.
I tend to, there's, in the fitness industry, there's principles of stress and rest. And I went to school in New York State, and I was, I guess, trained in the same school that Coach Jack Daniels taught, and was an exercise physiologist. And I've read his books, and one of the basic, I guess, principles that he follows is kind of like a build one, build two, peak, and then a recovery week. And
Yeah,
you don't necessarily have to be training for a race, but you can kind of build and then fall back to let your body respond and bounce back a little bit. And I think people will just run the same amount and kind of plateau and not see any really gains. But recovery is an important part, and that's one thing I'm always telling people that I coach too. And is just your body needs to rest and recover as well. More is not always better, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
yeah, and I have firsthand knowledge of that very recently. I I have a base of anywhere from 40 to 60 miles per week. That I can usually get that in pretty good and feel pretty good by the end of the week. But recently I was like, you know what? Let's see if I can peak out at a 93-mile week. I haven't done
Nice.
anything of that caliber. And I did it. I got 93 miles, but holy shit, man, I'm still feeling it. Like just my everyday runs, my typical 10-mile loop or whatever,
Yeah.
I'll get to the end of it. I'm just like, I am wrecked. And I was wrecked that
Yeah.
whole run, and it's definitely residual. Even 3 weeks later, I'm still feeling some of the repercussions of that big week, which came out of nowhere because my body was
Yeah.
there's a lot of stress to apply to my body just for fun. There's no point in it. I'm an idiot for doing it. Moron. But I
Well,
figured
the
out.
body and mind are so amazing, They're such amazing
Mhm.
mechanisms to adapt. They're so adaptable. And, I remember when 93 miles, for me, I was like literally like falling asleep, at the dinner table,
Yeah.
and I remember actually run a 20-mile run. I was wiped out for the entire day afterwards. You want to go to a movie? Oh, no, I'm too tired. 20 miles. Now I can do 20 miles almost every day. So it's amazing how your
Yeah,
body adapts and you're able to your body can handle it. And some people can handle more mileage than others.
that's
So
for sure.
some people are definitely like really hardy, and I definitely have coached people that just like bring on the miles, bring on the mountains, and they can just handle it. And other people, it's like they spike up to 50, 60 miles in a week, and they're on the verge of injury, and so it's kind of on a case by case basis, really.
Yeah, for sure. And that's definitely something that we can all educate each other about. And that's not necessarily comparing yourself to other runners. It's such a difficult thing to do. But, I have a handful of friends that can run and run and run and crank out huge daily
Yeah,
mileage. Guillaume in the chat room is a perfect example. The dude ran
yeah,
50
right.
miles on Saturday and then ran another
Yeah,
30 or 40 or something on Sunday. He just, for some reason, is built to be able to handle that
yeah,
and do it, make it look easy. And here I am just
right,
struggling to do back-to-backs. It's like, ugh.
right.
And granted, the human body will eventually adapt to certain stresses, but not always as fast or as easily or as well as other bodies. So it's hard not to
Yeah, I
compare
think
yourself to others.
that's why I think it's important not to compare yourselves to others. Like I stopped reading some people's blogs. Seriously.
Yeah, right?
You know what I mean? I was like, I can't read that anymore because you think you're not doing enough. But everybody's situation's different, and so that's kind of why we,
Totally.
we do a lot of customizable training plans. All of our training plans for people are all customized for
Where
each
can people
person.
find
So it's not just like
find you
it's not
guys?
like a yeah, it's not just like a plan that we just like, email to somebody. It takes into a lot of different things: stress, job, family, your goals. Some people are just trying to finish a race. Some people are trying to do really well and improve their times and whatnot. So,
Love it. Where can people find more information on animal athletics?
we can go to our website, which is animalathletics.pdx.com. Yeah, we're on
Cool.
Facebook, Twitter, and all that fun stuff.
And they don't have to live in Portland or Oregon, correct? Do you guys do remote or
No.
email based training?
Yeah, we do long distance training. We do trips. We're taking like some companies that are coming to visit Portland. We take them out on some adventures into the gorge, into the mountains to try out their products, which is a really cool, fun job we're doing next week. It's just like,
Awesome.
yeah, I just love it. I mean, it's a great thing we got going, and I'm psyched, and I love helping people all over the place. It's now in this technology age, we got interactive spreadsheets, we got Google Hangouts, we got Skype or email and telephone. We're able to keep in touch all the time. I haven't even met some of these people in person, but it's cool that we're able to connect and help each other out.
Yeah, it's weird how technology this day
I
and age
know.
is allowing this to happen. Like even just this show, being able to
Right.
communicate with you via video and share it, and everyone can watch live. I love it. I love that
Yeah.
this. Granted, ultra running is old, decades and decades, and people have been doing this a lot longer than I have, and a lot longer than both of us have. But I love being able to bring new people to the sport to show them that it is accessible to everybody, all shapes, all sizes, and stuff like that. So this show and this kind of technology, I think, I love it. I think it's kind of a cool new aspect to the sport. Like Ultra TV
Totally.
Live, is it Ultra
Ultra
Running,
Sports Live.
Ultra Sports Live? Like them doing what they're doing is really
Yeah.
cool, innovative.
Well, I really wanted
Uh,
to say I really love what you're doing too. I mean, to show through your videos and through this show, just the all people that are geeking out about this kind of stuff, and to be able to broadcast it. And I just showed my family. I was visiting in upstate New York last week,
yeah,
and
for
I
Cayuga.
yeah, for Cayuga Trails 50, and my mom was there, my nieces and stuff, and I just was like, hey, check this out. This is where I live, and this is where I run. And I showed them the Gorge 100K video that you did, and they were just like,
Nice.
wow, like you run there? Like this is a really well done video. Like holy shit, this is like professional. And that was real. I mean, honestly, like I think that was the best video that you've done is the Gorge Waterfalls 100K. Of course, I'm biased because I
Oh,
was in it, and and it's in my backyard. But yeah, I think we really appreciate, as ultra running fanatics ourselves, what you're doing with the technology and everything. So keep it up.
Thanks, man. I mean, I totally appreciate that, and I love meeting people. That's kind of the craziest part is like I run into people all the time who I've never met, who maybe have seen a video of mine or who have seen someone else post a video of mine or kind of word of mouth or something like that. It happens regularly deep in the mountains, which is the weirdest thing. Like you'll be just in the middle of nowhere and you'll be running by someone and they'll go, "Hey, you're the ginger runner. Like I just saw your video. Like that's crazy. I really want to go run the Gorge 50K or whatever." But really the whole reason why I even started doing any of this was because I was like all of us, and I'd go online and I'd search for whether it's a video, like a product review of something, or if there's a race that I'm signed up for and I wanted to see a video of what it's like or what the experience is like to run it. It didn't really exist. So I was like, well, why not do it? I don't have to be an elite runner to hold a GoPro and shoot myself, So it's been a blast. But yeah, doing videos like the Gorge 100K, I'm going to be doing more of those where I'm not focused on myself, but it's more on the runners. Example of Western states. So don't worry, you're going to be in it, Yassine. I promise.
All right.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're towards the end of the show now. We've talked a lot about Western states. I didn't mention it, but Cayuga 50, which was just recently, our good friend Chris Fargo won that race. Yassine got 4th place on that race, which is incredible. That's a tough course. It's a tough East Coast course. So a huge congrats to Yassine for 4th place there. So I can't forget to say that. So you're going into Western fast and primed, man. So can't wait to see what you do there. But as we do with all of these Ginger Runner Live episodes, we have a couple of segments that we like to do. Let's see. I'm trying to think of which one we should do first. Runner's Rant. Let's do Runner's Rant. So Yassine, if there's anything that's been bugging you, maybe about some experiences that you've had on the trails or on the roads or just running in general, this is the perfect opportunity to vent those issues. Here it is, Runner's Rant.
Runner's Rant.
I'll start. I didn't actually write it down, which is a total shame. What was it? I was just telling Kim about it a couple days ago. Do you have a Runner's Rant, babe? She's cooking dinner. She's got a lot going on over there. It was just the other day I was running. I was going, oh my god, I have to remember this for Runner's Rant. I can't even remember. But I will say this: try not to have sex on the trails, because the other day I was running, and actually it was last night I was running, and there was a couple having sex on the trail, and it made me feel unclean. I mean, listen. Who doesn't love sex? There's a place. What?
Is it Vancouverites or lovers?
Yeah, okay, Vancouverites or lovers. I guess that's true. There's a place and a time for that. I felt bad because it was also really gravelly and sandy. I kind of felt bad for them. So I don't know if it's so much a runner's rant as much as it is a runner's common knowledge. maybe try not to have sex on the trails unless you have a tarp. Then I can't fault you.
But, a tarp.
A tarp. What about you, Yassine?
I've seen people having. I came across a couple having sex as well one time. They weren't on the trail. They were in a little field as I ran past on the trail. And
middle of nowhere?
No, it was actually in Forest Park, Washington Park here in Portland, just outside the city limits here. And it wasn't like they were trying to be subtle about it either. Let's just put it that way. It was one of those train wreck things, where it was like you're looking and you're just like, whoa, and you're just running, and I couldn't not look for a second.
That's exactly what that's exactly what I was doing. I was like, oh, like you do the triple, quadruple take. You think this can't be happening. This is a public trail. They're both moaning. Oh, yeah, that's happening. What about you, man? Is there anything that's like, oh, I wish this would change, or anything like that, or are you good at this point?
I would say maybe I don't know, maybe because I live closer to the city. Where Forest Park is awesome. I don't know if you know about Forest Park, but it's 5,000 acres.
Never been. Yeah, it sounds
Next time, next
amazing.
time you come down, we'll go out for a run together in Forest Park. But
Right.
I think people walk their dogs out there quite a bit, and so um, a lot of runners in this area get jumped on by dogs. And of course, the last thing they say is like, "Oh, he's friendly. Don't worry, he's friendly," and then he bites you. You know,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
and now they've been starting to give $100 fines or more for people that don't have their dogs on leash. And I don't like I don't like to leash the dog, but I mean there's a difference when you have a pit bull looking dog, and I love pit bulls, but when you have a dog that looks intimidating like that, that's not on a leash, that is a little disconcerting sometimes. Also, I don't know, when they clean up the poop in their bags and then they just like leave it there. It's like, oh,
Just
I'll get it on the
leave
way
it.
back, or I'll get it on the way back. I don't know.
The
It's
worst. The worst. I hate it.
also, I don't know. This is just a little rant I was just talking about with somebody yesterday. I got a lot of rants. Um, I
Let
have
them
this
out,
thing
man.
with
Let them out.
hikers, man. With hikers, I always say hi to people, right? And sometimes I get these hikers that just blank me. So they hello, and
Yes.
they just
Yes.
they don't say anything back. And it's like, so it's funny because my mother told me that when I was like 4 years old, we used to go to the supermarket together, and I would say hi to people, and if they didn't say hi back to me, I would chase them down the aisle and say hi until they said hi to me. So maybe it's just an OCD thing that I've had ever since I was a little kid. So
Uh, dude, I can't tell you this. The same thing happens in LA. Oh my God, like tenfold. I mean, we've talked about it actually on the show before. This seems to be a pretty
really,
common problem,
oh,
especially amongst ultra runners. I think it's because we spend so much time on the trails, and you're usually running, or power hiking or whatever. So you're usually throwing a hello, unless you're in really rough shape or you're in that zone and you're trying to
right,
look real hard. That's understandable. But when I was in LA last week, there's this really popular trail. I'm running by. I say hi to everybody, especially if it's in the morning. It's like, good morning, good morning. And
right.
when they don't say anything back, you're like, what did I do to you? What? I'm sorry. I apologize. Hello. Just give me a hello. It's like, come on. Don't need to be a dick about it.
Yes,
Kim's run into it a
exactly.
number of times. I feel like everybody gets that. So that is Runner's Rant.
Runner's Rant.
That was a good one. The
Nice.
dog poop one, I actually, as you were talking, I was writing down runner's rant for next week, dog poop. Oh my God. People in LA seem to be the worst. They'll bring the bags, and then they'll put the poop in the bags, and then they'll just leave the bags on the trail.
Right. Exactly.
You actually just made it worse. You just made it worse by putting a plastic bag out in the middle of
Right.
nowhere.
I'd rather you just bury it under dirt and debris than leave this plastic bag there, right?
Right. Bring a shovel. If you know you're not going to carry the poop bag out, bring a shovel and dig a hole for it and
There
whatever.
you go.
There you go. And now for the final segment of tonight's show, this is where I get to pick Yassine's brain. It's called the Quickie Question Quiz. This is real easy, Yassine. So I have a list of questions. I'm going to ask them to you rapid fire. Just give me the fastest answer that you possibly can. Some might need a little bit of explanation, which is totally, totally cool. But we get to find out a little bit more about you in
All
the
right.
Quickie Question Quiz. Are you cool with that?
Yep.
All right, here we go. What was your very first race?
Uh, Twilight
Could be any.
5K.
Oh, a 5K, nice. Best trail that you've run?
Pacific Crest Trail.
Beautiful. Scariest moment on a trail?
Ah, scariest moment on a trail. Probably being surrounded by something big. I don't know what it was to this day, but it was something big. I
Sasquatch.
was out
Had to
there
have
by
been Sasquatch.
myself. It could have been.
Triathlon, road running, trail running.
Trail running.
Dream race to run.
Um, hmm. Dream race to run. I would say maybe Hard Rock 100 if it wasn't so damn high altitude.
Yeah, except for that whole altitude thing. Who is your idol?
I'd say my mom.
Favorite post-race indulgence?
Ooh.
You already eat a ton of candy bars and Coke.
Payday bars and Coke.
Payday bars and Coke.
I usually like a good bowl of hot soup.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Current running shoes. Yeah, we talked, I guess, maybe a little bit about them today. What are your current running kicks?
I've been running the majority actually in the Innovate Trail Rocks. So
Trail Rocks,
that's
good choice.
yeah, Trail Rocks. Yeah.
Favorite movie currently?
Oh, let's see. Frozen.
Yassine, really? Frozen?
I'm joking. I've only watched it like 18 times.
Oh, that's true. I forget. Yeah, you do have children.
Yeah, and she's
finally,
gonna be home any time now, any second. So,
cool.
FYI, you might get a couple little kids running into the screen here.
Yeah. And finally, your favorite ginger. This might be tough for you because I know you have a lot of gingers in your life.
I know.
I wouldn't be offended if you said your business partner.
I'll go a tie between you and Willie.
All right, so that's actually a safe answer. Good safe answer.
Yes.
As long as I was in there, then you are correct.
Yes.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah.
Good quickie question quiz. Before I miss it in the chat room, Rob Ricardo says, big shout out to Yassine. Filmed him racing last weekend during the Cayuga Trails 50 miler. What an incredible runner and a genuinely awesome person all around. Great ambassador for the sport.
Well, thanks, Rob. It's good to meet you out there.
Yeah, and I have to say I totally agree, Yassine. Before we go, I would like one final question. It's something that I think is what really draws people to you, and that is when you are in those moments. Oh, I hear it. I hear the kids.
Yep.
When you're in those moments, everything. Maybe this is actually part of your answer. How do you manage to smile in those tough times?
Really, it's honestly really going back to that gratitude. Really, it all comes back to that, being just grateful to be running and to have my health and to have family and friends and to be in these amazing places, you know? I mean, I have my moments. I'm a human being where I'm struggling and I'm cursing the sport and cursing, feeling like crap and feeling negative, but usually it comes back around to like, look how good our life is today.
Love it, man. Absolutely love it. For those of you who are tuning in live, or for those of you who are listening to the podcast version of Ginger Runner Live, episode number 18 with Yassine Diboun, please follow him on all the social networks. Yassine, I'll give you a chance to plug that. Go for it. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, my name on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is at Yassine Diboun, and Animal Athletics PDX. .com, Animal Athletics PDX on Instagram, and yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I love you guys, you and Kimberly, and hope to see you again soon. Actually, I will be seeing you on the Western States Trail in 2.5 weeks.
You bet, man. We'll
keep up the great work.
You too, dude. So stick around if you guys are just watching. We'll do a little bit of a post show, so stick around for the live feed of that. If there's any questions in the chat room that we missed, we'll answer them there. Don't forget to tune in live every single Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific. We'll be doing Ginger Runner Live with new guests next week. Episode number 19, we have Mr. Dean Karnassus joining us live on Ginger Runner Live. It's going to be excellent. I really can't wait to pick his brain on how he runs those long distances, how he came to write these amazing books that inspire millions of people, and does his hair so perfectly. So tune in next week. And don't forget to follow me on all the social networks over on Twitter at The Ginger Runner, Facebook, facebook.com/The Ginger Runner. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, The Ginger Runner, and we'll see you guys live next Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific. And as I shouted to Yassine on the trails during the Gorge 100K, and this will be ingrained in my memory forever, Yassine, keep pumping, man.
Keep pumping. Keep pumping. Heck yeah, man.
Words to live by. We'll talk more about that in the post show. All right, guys, stick around.
Totally.
Awesome. Yassine, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stick around as long as you want. I know that obviously your daughter you have 2 kids, right?
Just one. One of her friends is here as well. Sleep overnight.
You need to go, man. if you need to go, go for it. I usually just stick around to kind of go through the chat room and thank everyone for tuning in. But yeah, just the story about that. Yassine is running, so it's the Gorge 100K. I'm filming. I ran the 50K the day before, so I'm out there supporting all the runners for that race, following Guillaume, following Katie DeSplinter, Yassine. And so Yassine's coming into an aid station that's just after the turnaround. So at that point, I think it would be aid station 5, which is a repeat of aid station 3. And he's running towards us. He looks in rough shape, but he's still smiling. He's like, hey, thanks for being out here, guys. And as he's running away from me, I'm filming him, and I just go, keep pumping, man. I have no idea why the fuck I said that. He just like raises his fist and is like, thanks, man. And as he goes away, I'm like, what the fuck did I say that for? Who says that? Keep
Dude, that turned my race around, man. I was having a rough race until I heard that. As soon as I heard that, I was just like, yes, that's right. Keep pumping. And I started turning it around, and I just kept pumping up those trails, you know?
Oh, my God. I mean, Kim and I talked about that for the next probably 2 or 3 hours of like, he's going to run 10 miles going, what did he say to me? Is he keep pumping? What does he mean? Like pumping my fist? Like pumping my what is that? Like I figured that you were just so clueless as to what the hell I meant. And because I obviously didn't know what I meant. So that was a great moment.
That was awesome. That was awesome. No, I knew exactly what you meant because I've actually been there when I've been rooting people on, and then you have a finite amount of time where you can yell something and they can still hear you. So you just try to get it out, and that's what came out, you know?
So I have to embrace it. I have to accept it. What's great is I have it on video. Unfortunately, I don't have that video on this laptop since I'm traveling. It's at home. I'll have to show it in a future episode. Maybe we'll get you back on after Western or something. But it is captured on video, and it is just as enjoyable to watch months later as it is, you know, to have been there to do it.
Watch anybody out there hasn't seen the Gorge 50K or 100K video needs to go watch that. I mean, that's some high quality trail running action right there. Good, great editing. Yeah, absolutely.
Constantly trying to up the game too. You know, there's so many new films coming out that it's definitely on me to like continue to try to push my own creativity and stuff like that. So I'm really excited. In the chat room, just since we are kind of dealing with the post show, this doesn't go on the podcast version, so this whole live scenario is just for you guys who are watching live. From David Paulson, he was saying, dude, I was out for a run before work at 3 a.m. and I passed another runner and said, hi. The guy just gave me a bad look. Seriously. We're the only crazy people out here at 3 a.m., guy. It's like, that's true. You're running at 3 a.m. and you pass someone, you're kind of in the same boat. Like, say hello. Raul Engel says, when you have a daughter, you watch Frozen all the time.
I caught myself singing the song on the trail the other day to myself.
Oh, no.
Maybe you want to build a snowman? Yeah.
That's why people
like, what am I singing here?
Raul also says, Yassine seems like an awesome dude. Thanks for having him on, Ethan. I agree. Yassine is an awesome dude. Go follow him on all the social networks. Guy is legit.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words tonight from everybody. I appreciate it.
Sebastian Dorandu says, Yassine est génial. Do you speak French, Yassine? Are you?
Un petit peu. I'm Moroccan, so I speak a little bit of French. Yeah. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah. Merci beaucoup. Cade Stombo says, hey, Ginger, keep pumping would at the very least be memorable. That's true. That's true. Yassine still remembers it to this day, so it did have some impact somehow.
For sure. I love it. I'm gonna make a T-shirt that says that.
Oh man, it's gonna be like a beautiful logo, like the Territory Run Company. It's just gonna say, "Keep pumping, man."
Yes, exactly.
No explanation. People are gonna love it. What are the? This was actually asked very early in the show. It just wasn't. I didn't get a chance to ask it during our talking of Western states. What's your race calendar like post-Western? What's happening after Western?
Actually, I was planning on going up to British Columbia for the Squamish, but it's looking like, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it up there.
Okay.
So I really don't have anything on the race calendar after Western States. I could potentially be going back to Patagonia again in Chile, the same area that Jason Schlarb went to.
Wow.
And I went there last year and did a ultra down there. And I may be going back there, but I'm not positive on that yet. But other than that, like we talked about earlier, just kind of racing earlier in the year, and then after Western States, kind of doing more adventure type stuff.
That's awesome. I mean, I love the idea of going down to Patagonia.
Hello.
Oh, who's this?
This is Farah. This is my daughter, Farah.
Hi, Farah.
That's Ginger Runner. You watched one of his
Here comes
videos
Kim.
before.
Kim wants to see.
You have to come look.
She obviously can't hear. I don't think she can hear us, obviously, but she can see us waving. Oh, there she goes.
See you later. Me too.
Beautiful daughter.
I should get going, though, but thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, don't forget to follow Yassine, guys, on all the social networks. I'll include those links in the description of this video, which is now archived, and you can watch it at any point. Yassine, dude, have a great night. Take care, man. Enjoy it, and we'll see you at Western.
All right. Thanks for having me, Ethan. Have a good night. All right.
You bet.
Enjoy your dinner.
Thanks, man. Oh, smells awesome. Can't wait.
All right. See you soon, buddy.
See you, dude.
Take care.
You too. So I have to give Yassine a major shout out for jumping on the show. It was just awesome to have him. He really is one of those dudes that you meet. You're like, you are the nicest person I have met. You are awesome. You are so supportive. And he's out there at those races just cheering people on, even if he's not. Like the Gorge is a great example. He was out all day for the 50K race cheering on everybody as they ran. Came back the next day, ran his race, and still stuck around the finish line to cheer on people as they finished. Class act. So really cool dude. Really, really happy to have him on the show. I'd like to thank all you guys also for tuning in live. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to type them into the chat room. I can't stay long because dinner is on the verge of being inside me. So I want to make sure that I eat it. I didn't drink beer tonight. I actually drank all of it last night. We had hard cider here last night. It was really good. It was. I don't think I have any of that left, but it's Seattle Cider Company. They make this really good semi-sweet cider, which I'm usually not a fan of cider because it's too sweet. But yesterday I had some and it was really good, so I ended up drinking it all. And so tonight I was drinking lime soda water, which is great. It was delicious. It was real, real tasty. Thanks, Mike Bell. Appreciate that, man. Keep pumping. I can't. That's still one of the funniest things. We always joke about it. Geek with a side of nerd. Thanks for another great show. You got it. Thanks for having a great name, user handle. I'd buy that, says Cade. You'd buy what? I missed it. It's also a little bit delayed. The chat room on this, obviously, YouTube loves to have it, be delayed, because why would you want to do a live show with a current updated chat room, right? So awesome. Let's see. I am in Vancouver to do some trail recon since I'm running the Squamish 50-50 in August. I'm up here not only to visit Kim and to hang out here for a week, but to go get ripped up on the trails, because the trails here are like no other. The Northwest trails are one thing, but then the Vancouver trails are a whole other. Squamish trails, North Vancouver trails, they're just brutal, extremely technical, really, really steep, tons of just fun, fast single track coming down, but also extremely technical, so it just shreds you up. So my goal is to get shredded this week. Really, I hope to put in some good miles on some trails to acclimate to the trails before the Squamish 50-50, because just training on the Southern California trails is great, but it doesn't simulate race day stuff. When is this triathlon thing going to happen? Are you talking about me or Yassine? Yassine did triathlons. If you're talking about me, I have to learn how to swim. I took lessons a couple of years ago. I paid a lot of money for some progress, and I realized that if this progress was going this fast and it was costing me this much, I would be broke by the time I actually learned how to swim. So I can basically float and do real basic stuff, but I'm not even kidding when I say that I really cannot swim. I would die if I did a triathlon. So I need to get a professional to teach me to be good. Cycling, got it under control. Rocket cycling, I love it. Running, I could do it. Swimming, no, couldn't do it. The keep pumping shirt, says Cade. Oh yeah, for sure. Gotta do that. Keep pumping, bro. Just refresh this to see if it changes anything. I just hate that it takes so long to refresh the chat room. Sorry about that, guys. Got a trail half in Montana this weekend, says Chris Bull. Hell yeah, dude. I know a bunch of people that are going to be running the Rut. I believe it's at the end of the summer up there in Montana. Montana has some gorgeous country. If you get up into the Glacier National Park and some of those areas, Missoula, there's some beautiful, beautiful trails out there to run. I basically live vicariously through people who live up there and post pictures and stuff like that. And you see those trails and you see those mountains and the glaciers and just the epic scale of everything. And it's one of those places you have to add to the list, to the bucket list of adventure destinations for sure. All right, I'm going to go, guys. Dinner is served. I, again, very much appreciate you guys tuning in live every single Monday, live at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which I know those of you who are global, on the other side of the globe, it's not necessarily the ideal time for you to watch, but it is obviously always archived, so you can always come back and watch it in the archived version. And next week, man, I'm super stoked. Dean Karnassus, he's coming on the show. Cannot wait for that one. Kind of a big deal. So come back, guys. Tune in for that show next Monday. Same time, different place, because I'll be back in LA. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you, and follow me on all the social networks. We'll see you guys next week. Peace. Bye.